right? That is why keep on insisting on this. Please use passive voice when you're in your writings, right? Uh, we know that we have active voice and passive voice, right? When active, there, what you need to remember is there are some sentences in English, sentence types in English, which you cannot use or which you cannot turn into passive. That's the main thing you need to remember. And when it comes to use of passives, right? Use of passives, right? Our first aim is to emphasize the action rather than the actor. If we need to emphasize on the action rather than the actor, we are using passive, right? After after a long debate, the proposal was endorsed by the long range planning committee. So here we are highlighting the action of endorse, right? A action එක අපි කරකවන්න. Action එක තමයි highlight කරන්නේ, right? So that's the first use. Rather than if we need to emphasize the action rather than the act. The second one is to keep the subject and focus consists through a passage. To keep the subject and focus consists through the passage. If the data processing department recently presented what proved to be controversial proposal to expand its staff. After a long debate, the proposal was endorsed, right? Subject subject if you need to emphasize, keep on emphasizing on the subject, keep on emphasizing on the subject, right? So the main subject of this sentence is the controversial proposal. If you need to keep on insisting on this the word controversial proposal throughout your sentence, what you need to do is you need to use passive voice, right? The next one is to be tactful by not naming the actor. If you are not in a mood to name your actor, we are using passive voice. What you need to remember is when you are turning into passive, a particular sentence into passive, there is no need to name the actor. අපි actor බයිවලින් දාන්න ඕනමයි කියලා කොහෙවත් කියන්නේ. ඇයි අපි actor මෙතනට important නැති නිසා තමයි අපි passive voice වලට මේක හරවලා ගේන්නේ පස්සේ තියෙන object එක ඉස්සරහට. In that case, there's no need to mention it. To describe a condition in which the actor is unknown or unimportant. If you don't know who did it, right? Who did it? If it's so your actor is unknown. If you don't know, if you say that, if you think that the actor is not important, the actor is not important, the actor is not important to your passage, right, or to your writings, then we can use passive voice, right? Or if you need to give a authoritative tone, authoritative tone means you're commanding someone. If you're commanding someone, you can use passive, right? And when it comes to passive, what you need to remember is the form of passive is in subject. Subject means object. The object should be there. So infinite form of the verb to be, infinite form of the verb to be කියන එක infinite form එක. ඒ කියන්නේ am is a was were shall be will be, and the past participle, third column of the verbs, right? We are dividing the concept of verbs into several segments. One is past participle, right? Past participle, you need to have a thorough idea about all the forms in past participle cases. Past participle පිළිබඳව අපි ඇත්තරම දැනගන්න යුතුයි. මොකද past participle කියන එක තමයි අපිට ගොඩක් දුරට ඉවහල් වෙන්නේ මේ කියන concept එක ගොඩ දාගන්න. උදාහරණයක්, a letter was written. write, wrote, written. You need to have it with you. So in that scenario, what you need to remember is you will be having two types of main verbs in English. That is irregular and regular verbs. Irregular and regular verbs. Irregular verb means the verbs end in ed. The verbs ends in ed. And the regular verb, irregular verb means the verbs end in ed. And the irregular verb means the verbs such as go, went. It's totally different. It's totally different. You need to understand it, right? You need to understand it. So it will, you need to understand this difference, right? Right? You need to understand it, right? Because that's the main point which you need to have in your mind, right? And you need to know that when you are rewriting active sentence into passive, you need to know the following, right? The object of the sentence become the subject of the when it comes to passive, right? The infinite form of the verb is changed to be and past participle. The subject of the active sentence becomes the object of the passive sentence, or it should drop. Keep it always on, right? Because if you don't have that in your mind, you will be stuck, right? You'll be stuck. So when it comes to simple present, right? Rita writes a letter. Rita writes a letter. I'm using simple sentences because it will be pretty much easy for you to understand. I'm using simple sentences for this case, right? Rita writes letters, right? If when it comes to passive, a letter is written by Rita. A letter is written by Rita. The sentence is in passive present, simple present. The only difference is you have used is at the beginning of the main verb. Main verb එකේ is කියන එක පාවිච්චි කරලා තියෙනවා. ඔන්න ඕක තමයි එකම difference. ඕක තමයි ඔයාගේ තියෙන එකම difference එක, right? So keep that difference in your mind because it will be pretty much easy for you when it comes to when it comes to forming passive sentences, right? And yeah, if when it in simple past, right? When it's in simple past, අපි simple past tense එකට මේක ගේනවා නම්, right? අපි simple past tense එකෙන් නම් මේක තියෙන්නේ. Rita wrote a letter. Rita wrote a letter. Simple past tense වලට ඇවිල්ලා තින්නේ. Rita wrote a letter. එතකොට අපි කරන්න ඕන මේ Rita wrote a letter කියන ඒ දීලා තියෙන වචනය ආයේ වාක්‍ය අපි හරවනවා මෙන්න මේ විදියට. A letter was written by Rita. A letter was written by Rita, right? A letter was written by Rita. ඔන්න ඔය විදිය තමයි ඒක එන්න ඕන. Correct? Okay. Right? And if it's in present perfect, Rita has written a letter. Rita has written a letter. So when it comes to passive voice, a letter has been written by Rita. A letter has been written by Rita. Right? Right? And when it comes to future, right? When it comes to future, Rita will write a letter. Rita will write a letter, right? So if you turn it into passive voice, a letter will be written, So passive by Rita, right? And the next one is modal verbs, right? Modal verbs. What I'm telling, we tell them as modal verbs. We are using modal verbs to take permission, to talk about talent, to make a request, right? To give commands. So for such kind of cases, we are using modal verbs. So here we have a modal verb sentence, a sentence with a modal verb. Rita can write a letter. That means we are talking about an ability. When it comes to passive, a letter can be written by Rita, right? And examples for passive level 4. Right? This means we are talking about the next cases, right? That means present continuous. The first one is in present continuous, right? Present continuous. All right. Present continuous. Rita is writing a letter. Rita is writing a letter. A letter is being, B-E-I-N-G, being, B-E-I-N-G, the present continuous form of the verb be. The present continuous form of the verb be is being written by Rita. A letter is being written by Rita. When it's in past continuous, Rita was writing a letter. Rita was writing a letter. So taking it into passive, a letter was being written by Rita. A letter was being written by Rita. Right. And if it's in past perfect, Rita had written a letter. Rita had written a letter. A letter had been, B-E-E-N-B, right? Right? Had been, B-E-E-N-B. What is that? B-E-I-N-G, being is the continuous form, B-E-E-N-B, B-E-E-N-B. B-E-E-N-B. What do you mean by B-E-E-N-B? Past participle. Remember, keep it in your in your mind. Past participle of the verb. Okay. B can past participle form B-E-E-N-B.
There is no
real meaning. A letter had been written by Rita. A letter had been written by Rita. Future 2. Rita will have written a letter. Rita will have written a letter. A letter will have B-E-E-N-B, written by Rita, right? And conditional 1. Rita would write a letter. Rita would write a letter. A letter would be written by Rita. Would be written by Rita. Conditional 2. Rita would have written a letter. A letter would have been written by Rita. This is how we need to change the sentence tenses into passive. What are the missing tenses here? All the perfect continuous tenses are missing because we cannot change them, right? We cannot change them, right? That's what you need to remember. Okay, you cannot change any perfect continuous forms into passive, right? So
you can't do.
You can't. So we need to keep them in our mind, because otherwise you'll be in a deep trouble if you try to change any of the present perfect or continuous cases or any cases into passive. අපිට ඒක passive වලට හැරවිය නොහැක. That's what you need to remember, right? So this is how we are turning passive active voice into passive. If you are in need, right? If you are in need of more marks, this is what you need to use, right? So comparisons.
I want to clear up the thing.
So here in your next page, there is a comparison of tenses and patterns. Present tense.
Only.
Yeah.
There is no future.
So here is a comparison of your tenses, present tense, past tense, and futures. What, how you need to use and what you need to use. This is what if you are in need of earning more marks in IELTS, what you need to do is write more words like this, sentences like this. මේ වගේ sentences පුළුවන් තරම් පාවිච්චි කරන්න ඔයාලගේ writing වල. මොකද මෙන්න මේක තමයි ඇත්තටම අපිට marks ගන්න පුළුවන් system එක. මොකද අපේ බලනවා sentence structures. ඉතින් අපි sentence structures කියන concept එක හරියට කරගෙන තිබුණොත් මේ විදිහට structures වෙනස් කර කර ලියලා sentences මාරු කර කර ලියලා තිබුණොත් ඇත්තටම අපිට marks ගන්න එක ගොඩක් ලේසි. marks ගන්න පුළුවන්, right? Model verbs keyboard කොහමද should out කියන එක ආව, right? මම මේක a letter should be written, a letter should be written, right? ඒ විදිහට ඔන්න ඔය systems ටික හරියට ගත්තොත් must be කියන එකට කොහොමද එන්නේ, right? අපි ඒ විදිහට එන්න ඕන කොහොමද, right? A letter must be written, a letter may be written, a letter might be written. වෙනස් වෙවි යන විදිහ ඔය ටික ඔළුවට දා ගන්නම නම් ඇත්තටම මේක හරි ලේසි. Then I'm coming to how to make advanced sentences. We need to make advanced sentences, right? That means we need to collect, right, sentences into sentences. sentences එකින් එක collect කර කර යන්න ඕන, connect කර කර යන්න ඕන. හරිද? මේ connect කරන්න, right? අපි මෙන්න මේවා එකින් එක දෙන්න ඕන. මෙතෙන්දී අපි කරන්න ඕන පුළුවන් තරම් අපි භාවිතා කරන්න ඕන පුළුවන් තරම් අපිට පාවිච්චි වෙලා යන්න ඕන මොන connectors conjunctions එකින් එක පාවිච්චි වෙයි මේවා දික් ගෙහිලා යනවා. මෙන්න මේක තමයි වෙන්න ඕන. අපි ඒක තමයි නොකරන්නේ. අපි නොකරන්නේත් ඔන්න ඕක තමයි. ඒ නිසා passive voice වලදී ඉස්සෙල්ලාම මතක තියාගන්න අපිට අවශ්‍ය කරන tense verb tense cases ටික verb tenses ගැන කතා කරොත් අපිට ප්‍රධාන වශයෙන්ම verb tenses අපිට අවශ්‍ය වෙනවා past participle ගැන දැනගන්න ඕන. ඒ past participle set එක හොඳට ඔළුවේ තියාගන්න. මොකද past participle set එක තමයි ඇත්තටම අපිට අවශ්‍ය වෙන්නේ මේ වැඩේ කරගන්න. right? ඕක ඔළුවේ තියෙනවා නම් ඇත්තටම අපිට මේ ගැටලුව කරන්න අමාරු වෙන්නේ, මේක කරන්න අමාරු වෙන්නේ නැහැ, right? So I need to put you into some exercises also. You have a small exercise here. Please do this exercise.